WWE star to kick Solo Sikoa out of the Bloodline 2.0 and become its new leader after Raw? Chances explored. Solo Sikoa is no longer the tribal chief following his loss to Roman Reigns in the tribal combat on the Raw premiere on Netflix. Solo did his best and was a step away from claiming the victory with help from the new Bloodline. But it was the OTC who eventually stood tall, with some help from the OG Bloodline, and won the match. This defeat could create a new angle to the new Bloodline storyline, with Jacob Fatu stepping up and kicking Solo Sikoa out of the new Bloodline after failing to keep the Ula Fala and win the tribal combat. Fatu has done a great job as the enforcer of Solo Sikoa, but things might have changed now. And on this occasion, Solo will see Fatu do to him what he did to Roman Reigns, namely kick him out of the Bloodline and take over the faction. That if this happens, Fatu and Sikoa could collide in one of the upcoming premium live events, while the latter could have a face turn and reunite with Roman Reigns down the road. What is next for Solo Sikoa after the tribal combat loss? Solo Sikoa was confident in his ability to defeat Roman Reigns in the tribal combat and settle his rivalry with the tribal chief, allowing him to become the undisputed tribal chief. Now, he must regroup and recover from that loss, finding a new direction for himself and the new Bloodline. What could he do, though? It appears that he could follow two paths. One is to feud with Jacob Fatu if the latter turns on him and kicks him out of the faction, and the other is to win the Royal Rumble and go after Cody Rhodes, aiming to become the undisputed WWE champion. Solo came close to dethroning the American Nightmare at SummerSlam back in early August, but the return of Roman Reigns prevented him from becoming world champion, with Roman and Solo starting their rivalry, which came to an end on the Raw premiere on Netflix. Now, though, Solo will look to get back on track, and could do so by winning the Royal Rumble and getting a title shot at WrestleMania 41. Solo Sikoa suffering huge betrayal after losing to Roman Reigns on Raw should happen, says ex-WWE employee. After WrestleMania 40, Solo Sikoa took control of the Bloodline, as he eliminated Jimmy Uso and Paul Heyman. He added Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, and Jacob Fatu to his faction. While the former NXT North American champion battled Reigns over the Ula Fala last night on Raw's debut episode on Netflix, Tonga and Fatu interfered to help him beat the OTC. However, they failed as their leader suffered a defeat. Speaking on the Behind the Turnbuckle, The Last Word podcast, Carlucci expressed his desire to see the Samoan werewolf turn on Sikoa, leading to a feud between the two. He pointed out that he thought it would happen last night on Raw at one point. And this is me thinking storyline. He helped Solo twice, right? And he still didn't get the 1, 2, 3. I'm thinking maybe Jacob turns on freaking Solo, and then you start a storyline with Solo and Jacob, because I would love to see that. He said The Rock greeted Solo Sikoa backstage after the tribal combat match on WWE Raw. While The Rock acknowledged Roman Reigns as the tribal chief in his opening promo on Raw's debut episode on Netflix, he shared an emotional moment with his cousin after the latter beat Solo Sikoa in tribal combat. The final boss placed the Ula Fala on Reigns' neck, hugged him, and told him he loved him. The 52-year-old WWE legend also waited for Sikoa backstage after the match to greet him. The TKO board member hugged the former NXT North American champion and expressed his love for him too in unaired footage, while Reigns and Rock were rumored to square off at WrestleMania 41. Tommy Carlucci's co-host, wrestling veteran Jonathan Coachman, recently reported that the final boss would not be involved in the OTC's match at the Show of Shows based on information he received from an inside source. The Rock's backstage reaction to Solo Sikoa after losing tribal combat to Roman Reigns. Solo Sikoa lost to Roman Reigns in tribal combat last night on WWE Raw. After the match, The Rock had a moment with the leader of the new Bloodline backstage. The OTC finally retrieved the Ula Fala after beating Sikoa on Raw's debut episode on Netflix. After the match, The Rock headed to the ring to place the Ula Fala around his cousin's neck. The People's Champ then shook the former undisputed WWE Universal Champion's hand and hugged him. While the final boss reaction to Reigns' victory was seen on screen, his interaction with Sikoa was not. The 52-year-old legend waited at Gorilla for the former NXT North American champion to return after the match to greet him. He hugged his 31-year-old cousin and told the latter that he loved the street champion before leaving. The moment was later uploaded by a fan on TikTok. Ex-WWE star expects The Rock to fight Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 41. The Rock's unexpected babyface turn on Raw's debut episode on Netflix had led many to believe he would not compete at WrestleMania 41. Recent reports suggested the final boss has to do Moana reshoots around the same period as the Show of Shows, seemingly implying that he would be off the show. Speaking on the Gigantic Pop podcast, former WWE superstar Matt Morgan claimed that the 52-year-old legend was only doing his job of hyping Raw's transition to Netflix. He claimed the Stanford-based company could still book the Great One in a match at WrestleMania 41 against either Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns. The wrestling veteran also predicted that the final boss would go head-to-head with the OTC at the Showcase of the Immortals in Las Vegas. I Hate You, Mania 41. WWE fans predict major turn after Solo Sikoa lost to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa opened WWE Raw's Netflix debut as the first match, and the stakes were high. However, fans reacted to the finish and believe a feud with Jacob Fatu is next for Sikoa following his loss to the original tribal chief last year. Solo Sikoa introduced Jacob Fatu to the WWE Universe as his Bloodline's enforcer. The Samoan werewolf loves to declare his passion for Sikoa and often stands by him against Roman Reigns and the OG Bloodline. Unfortunately, Sikoa lost the right to be called the Tribal Chief on Monday Night Raw. After the show, WWE fans reacted to Solo Sikoa's fate following the loss, and many predicted Jacob Fatu would turn on the star. Moreover, fans believe the two could clash at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. And Fatu won't be Sikoa's follower any longer after the loss to Roman Reigns, Solo losing confidence, and Jacob hitting the I Hate You Solo with a thunderous pop, one fan said. Build to Jacob turning on Solo and having the Tongans and Hikuleo as his group. Another fan said Jacob Fatu seemingly botched a move during Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa on WWE Raw. Jacob Fatu has been a force to reckon with, and Solo Sikoa's biggest weapon against any WWE superstar that went against the former tribal chief. However, Fatu hasn't been able to save Sikoa from every possible instance. On the recent edition of Monday Night Raw, Solo Sikoa went to war against Roman Reigns to become the true tribal chief. During the match, Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu made their presence felt. However, it looked like Fatu botched a move as Reigns positioned himself at a distance for a superkick, but got slapped by the Samoan werewolf. The botch took place as Fatu almost slipped while entering the ring regardless. It wasn't enough to help Solo Sikoa as more people joined the fray, and the original tribal chief was ABL.